13. If everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a minute of silence. And I want you to think about all the people that are in Tornado Alley, the tornadoes that hit tonight, the tornadoes that hit last weekend and everything, and just say a silent prayer for all those people that whole lives have been disrupted. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I invite audience to introduction now, so we're going to pass the mic and everybody can introduce themselves.
Dennis LaFavor.
Lois Heinrich LaFavor.
Ali Grimard.
Tim Duda.
Sherry Charamokas.
Linda Wolf. Maxine Galindo.
Sandy Carruthers.
George Maxey.
Beth Scott.
Would you like to say your name?
Tito and Jade Nunez.
Veronica Lujan.
Dwayne Marcus.
Kelsey Whistler.
Zach Roth.
Vicki Masters.
Samuel Archuleta.
Rosaura Almanza. Lizeth Andrade.
Hugo Rodriguez.
Luis Rodriguez. McKenna Yates.
Katie Yates.
Brooklyn Yates.
Andy Wilmus.
Quinn Wilmus.
Brenda Wilmus.
Britt Wilmus. Karen Bell. Amanda Bear.
Sean Bear.
Reagan Bear.
Guillermo Serna.
Ellen Howe, Board of Adjustments.
Wesley Sanchez.
Jennifer Sanchez.
Carlene Owens.
Daniela Sanchez. Dakota Dabney. Tanaya Sanchez. Sarah Alvarado.
Desiree Salazar.
Andy Baeza.
Beatriz Baeza.
One.
Nolani Schimpf. Mary Morton.
Giovanni Munoz.
Melissa Munoz.
Andy Munoz.
Aliana Munoz. Alva Munoz. Adriana Contreras. Saraí Contreras. Stephanie Contreras.
Cynthia Gomez.
Joy Bishop.
Gene Leffel, Board of Adjustment.
Dominic Moreno.
Colin Kennedy. R.D. Seawald.
June Younger, Commerce City Historical Society.
Troy Younger, Commerce City Cultural Council.
Harvest Thomas, Commerce City Cultural Council.
Maura O'Neill, Commerce City Cultural Council.
Roger Tiefenberg, Finance.
Leanne Noel, Grant Administrator.
Troy Smith, Police Chief. John Howard, Information Technology.
Javier Nieves.
Ofelia Pérez. Guadalupe Nieves. Ashley Nieves. Emma Cable.
Luke Cable.
Tessa Cable, Megan Cable,
Kelly Cable, Lynn Borden,
Nevaeh Little, Dakota Little,
Ellen Troutman,
Franklin Little.
Heather Little,
Luis Loya,
Yadira Loya, Lorena Loya, Hannah Brown,
Joanna Brown,
Damon Brown,
Ryan Brown, Rachel Brown,
Camila Tavares, Patricia Guzman,
Ana Tavares, Camp Elementary,
Abe Lopez,
Darlene Lopez, Kemp Elementary,
Tanya Lucero.
Ezekiel Lucero, Camp Elementary,
Dominique Lucero,
Stephen Lucero.
Karen O'Donnell, Parks and Recreation,
Tico Cimenta, Josie Guzman, Eileen Guzman,
Renato Cimental,
George Romero, and Eli Romero, Camp Elementary,
Liliana Saldaña,
Daniel Antuna, Esther Hall, Commerce City Historical,
Jane Person,
Jocelyn Erickson,
Dan Grant.
Brooke Erickson,
Irene Rubino.
John Person. George Conklin, Nancy Crummett.
Linda Mackey,
Gil Martinez,
Leora Richards,
Francis Zajac.
Noel Busk, E470 Safety Foundation.
Dave Christick, E470 Public Highway Authority.
Deborah Bullock, Commerce City Historical Society, and the Cultural Council.
Carolyn Keith, Parks and Recreation.
Well, I want to welcome everybody that's here tonight. And I imagine that there's a lot of people here tonight because there's a lot of coloring out there in the lobby. Did everybody have some cake? Who didn't have any cake? Okay, we'll get them some cake. No, I'm joking. Okay. Our first act of business tonight is our proclamation and recognitions. And it's the Commerce City Historical Society and the Cultural Council. And I'd like to invite Deborah Bullock up to come forward and do the presentations regarding the Commerce City Historical Society coloring book winners. If you could give your name and address, please.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Deborah Bullock, 6130 Ivanhoe Street, Commerce City, Colorado. And I'm going to call everybody else up here in a minute, but I want to read through our overview, which you have in front of you. Last year, we decided through the Historical Society to start planting some seeds in our own community so that the children will grow up and know the history of their city, so that when we're not here, someone's going to continue doing what we do. And so hopefully one of these, several of these children out here will join the Historical Society many years from now and continue to do and preserve the history like we're doing now. We partnered with Adams City High School, and we selected an art class to do pictures for us, so they drew the pictures in the coloring book. June Younger and myself oversaw that project, and we met with them on a regular basis and gave them a history lesson as well, so they knew what pictures they were coloring. And then we distributed coloring books, and we did the same thing this year. So the picture's done, the books are done, but this year June Younger added 4 pictures, and we'll add some more next year. And we had a group of people that handed out the coloring books, and we did that on April 19th through the 23rd in all of the elementary schools within Commerce City. And the volunteers for that project were former Mayor David Busby, Mayor Pro Tem Renee Bullock, Deborah Bullock, June Younger, Esther Hall, Don Sater, Loretta Petty, Leora Richards, Fran Bigelow, Lynn Bradley, Thelma Cole, Mary Morton, and former Mayor Pro Tem Tracy Snyder. And then we selected the pictures. They did the coloring, and we picked all the pictures up, and we selected those with the Cultural Council members and the Historical Society members, and went through about 500 pictures, I think. They're all hanging out in the lobby. So we did that. And tonight we're here to honor the winners and to give some prizes to the children who sent pictures in and who were chosen as the winners. And so we're going to give them those awards. The Commerce City Historical Society board members are Joanne Stevenson, President, Esther Hall, Vice President, myself, June Younger, and Thelma Cole. And I know that June and Esther are here, so can you come up, please? The Commerce City Cultural Council members are Troy Younger, President, Angel Anderson, myself, the Secretary, Harvest Thomas, who's the Treasurer, Juan Rodello, Jean Billingsley, J.D. Carson, our Council Representative, and Crystal Elliott, our Council Representatives, Richard Castro, former Mayor Pro Tem Casey Hayes, our newest member Jim Jacobs, and Mara O'Neill. And the ones that are here, can you please come up? The schools that participated this year were John Timmig, Second Creek, Landmark Academy, DuPont Elementary, Rose Hill Elementary, Hanson Elementary, Bell Creek Charter School, Turnberry, Alsop, Kemp, Central, and Monaco. And I think we have representatives from all those schools tonight. So we're going to give them the awards. As I call the name, if they can come up and get the award, and stay up here because we're going to take a group picture. So everyone will help hand out. Casey, where are you?
Casey went,
Where?
he went home.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
Okay. Alsop Elementary, the first place was Annabelle Munoz. Yeah, come on out. Yeah. Troy, you guys can help hand out? Yeah. Second place was Diego Cemento. Third place, Zahari Contreras Gomez.
You guys want to go?
Bell Creek Charter School. I'm going to start with third place. Megan Cable. Second place is Amber Lynn Stewart. First place is Brazels Rodriguez. I am?
Yeah, because we've got them listed this way.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Back to first place. Central Elementary, first place Dakota Little. Second place Brady Rodriguez. Third place Lizeth Andrade Almanza. DuPont Elementary, that's what I did. Guadalupe Jasmine Nieves Perez. Second place, Anissa Alvarez. Third place, Angie Biza. Hanson Elementary, first place, Johan Esquita. Second place, Juan Bautista. Third place, Maria Gaspar. Okay, Kemp Elementary, first place, Anali Romero. Second place, Anna Tavares. Third place, Ezekiel Lucero. Landmark Academy, first place, Jocelyn Erickson. Second place, Brooklyn Yates. Third place, Hannah Meek. Monaco Elementary, first place, Kayla Martinez. Second place, Selena Portillo. Third place, Amber Chavez. Rose Hill Elementary, first place, Stacy Hernandez Trevino. Second place, Navia Perez. Third place, Yadira Gayona Loya. Second Creek Elementary, first place, Quinn Wilmus. Second place, Kaylin Bear. Timig Elementary, first place is J.D. Nunez. Second place, Samara Alvarado. Third place, Tanaya Sanchez. Turnberry Elementary, first place, Rachel Brown. Second place, Rylan Bigley. And third place, Isabella Marquez. Okay, would the council please come down? You know, when we were delivering the coloring books, they were excited about meeting the council and the mayor. So these are your council members and the mayor. Mayor Sean Ford is not here tonight. Mayor Renee Bullock is the mayor pro tem, so he's the assistant mayor. So these are your council people.
Now, come on, parents. It's time to take pictures.
But we still have something else to do first.
Did you see them all? Yeah. Okay. Everybody did
Okay, don't go away yet. We have the Best in Show, so we have 3 students that we felt was the best overall. Quinn Wilmus, Second Creek Elementary. Can you come down? Guadalupe Nieves Perez. And Jocelyn Erickson from Landmark Academy. You want to stand right here? Stand right there in front of the kids. Come down. Jocelyn? Come down. You can stand right
There you go. Hold on one second. There you go.
You're right.
Too much at once.
Right?
One of the 3 winners.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I want to say congratulations and thank you.
And the teachers too.
I would also like to have any teachers that are here stand up. What teachers do we have? Any principals? Any of the school principals here? We appreciate you. And the parents, thank you for bringing your children out. And hopefully we'll see you maybe next year. You might have younger kids. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, when I was passing out my coloring books, every time I went in the classroom with the teachers, I told the teachers they had to color a coloring a picture too. 2 teachers turned theirs back in. From Central Elementary, Miss Meredith, and from Central Elementary, Miss Stahl. So tomorrow I'm going to go over to Central and I'm going to award them with their plaques because they were winner teachers.
And on behalf of the Historical Society, on June 2nd, we're going to do a roller derby in Brighton at the Wagon Wheel. And on the 14th, we're doing a presentation at the Senior Center on the school history in Commerce City with the tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now, that was it, she was at, well, I thought it was Landmark. Landmark. Okay, we're going to give them a chance to leave, and so we're going to take like a 7-minute break here where everybody can leave the room, and if you need to find a seat, you can find a seat now. 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Hear me now? Good. 14122 East 102nd Place, Commerce City, Colorado. Just one food for thought. In Foxton, the neighborhood of Foxton, we were hit this last week, 3 Jeeps and 1 Honda. And they're coming in, and it seems like they're coming in packs. And they get and take your cars. It seems like it's about every 4 or 5 years they make a run in Commerce City, and probably up north, because there's probably more up there. In one neighborhood of 600 homes, it doesn't cut it. Because I think that if the need for patrolmen, I loved to see the patrolmen on bicycles when they were there. But I haven't seen them in quite a while. And I think that take a look at the needs of what's out there. During the summer, people need money. During the summer, it's an easy way of making money. And we're still a growing city. So, and I'm not complaining about the officers or what they do or what they don't do. What I'm complaining about is take a look, you as city council, ask the questions. How are we doing? Are we providing enough officers to get the job done? And in seeing this, it just doesn't quite seem like we are. So I just thought I'd come by and let you know that it's happening. And I'm one of the second house, okay, into Foxton right there, and off of Blackhawk. And, you know, it's a nice neighborhood. I love it. But we need some type of assistance out there, okay, other than just tickets on 104th. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming forward, Mr. Serna. I agree with the concerns about summer in particular, and I know there were recently some thefts from vehicles in the Reunion neighborhood, and we certainly see what seems like a cycle, whether it's every few years or what seems like sort of little pockets each year. And I think it's, you know, as I've heard it termed by the police department previously, it's these crimes of opportunity, and oftentimes it's the vehicles that are left unlocked and left outside. I've heard in the past there are correlations with porch lights not being on a street if you've got a street that's particularly dark. So there are certainly elements to this that we all play a role in. But I agree that, you know, it would be good to ensure that we have sufficient policing, right? And I think that to that end, I have every confidence in Chief Smith and his ability to assess the department and their staffing needs. So if they deem a need for increased patrols or increased staffing, I would certainly expect that they would bring that through the city manager's office, and we would explore that as a necessary increase. And so what I would ask, and I don't want to put the chief on the spot tonight, but you know, I know I've seen some neighbors-to-neighbors type communication in the Reunion neighborhood through Officer Fender. I don't know if there's a similar program and point of contact in place in Foxton at this point. Do you guys have a neighbors-to-neighbors
No.
program set up?
And I understand that, but that morning, I locked my car. It's Jeep. And they're targeting cars, Jeeps, certain
makes.
types of
Yep.
automobiles.
That's right.
Okay? And it's got nothing to do with not putting your locks on or anything like that. Let me explain. I locked my car, was taking my daughter to the hospital. So we made sure that the house was locked. Okay? Spent 4, 5, 6 hours at the hospital with the daughter, bringing her back. I look around the corner, where's my Jeep? Okay? Now I got a burglar alarm inside the house. Okay, so we're conscious of what's out there. But I'm just saying that the 4 or 5, 6 vehicles in one 600 neighborhood, it doesn't add up.
And please don't mistake my comment. I didn't suggest that you left your vehicle unlocked. I cited specifically the incidents that occurred in the neighborhood near me, and I know that
Yeah.
those were incidents of opportunity where things were unlocked. I think what's happened in your case, and again, we can leave this for the PD, is you get a well-organized group of people who come in and they hit all at once, and that's very difficult no matter how many guys that you have on the street, bicycles or otherwise. And so I would encourage you to, if there are concerns about the policing level, then let's take those to the PD, and otherwise I agree that we need to be on the lookout.
I am making you aware of what's happening out there.
And I appreciate that.
Didn't say anything about our officers, okay? But I will make you aware that we are getting hit. And if it's happening up there, it's going to happen throughout Commerce City.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for making us aware, Guillermo. I do also drive a Jeep, and just recently I did find a pick to go ahead and try to figure out how to start my car without me being there. So I did find that in my vehicle. We have not seen, or at least I have not seen, the police on the vehicles or on the bicycles just yet. Actually, I take that back, I did. So they are out there pedaling, and both my father and myself had a great conversation that we thought that there should be more police on bicycles because they can respond very quickly and they're very agile. So yes, I am completely aware, and I'm making the chief aware of that as well. So thank you.
Mr. Cerna, thank you for coming tonight. You're correct. And it seems like up north we just have these issues that won't quit. I know in my neighborhood, every single year we have vandalism in the cars. It doesn't matter if it's noon. And within minutes they have broken into a vehicle and taken something from in there. Reunion has had the problems. All of us up north have had problems. So, yeah, maybe there is some way we can take a look at how we address some of these issues and proactively go after them. I'm not sure what that would be. The police chief, I'm sure, is very interested in trying to come up with something, because you're correct. The numbers are getting too high. So, but thank you.
There you go. Thank you for the awareness. I tend to I leave early in the morning for work, and sometimes there's some cars that are not familiar in the area that have been stolen and dropped off because I live on a dead-end street. So it is good to get to know your neighbors and know your surroundings, because things are happening. You know, the basic economy and people need quick money. We're going to see a lot of that. So, you know, that's something we need to be aware of, and I appreciate you coming forward. Let us know.
One more comment. I had an in-service with the police chief here in town with some people. And one of the greatest advice he gave to the people was, if you see anything suspicious, dial 911 and call. So that's why I'm here. If people out there that are on their computers or watch this on TV or whatever, call, because it in these times it's money. So thank you very much.
Next person is Troy Younger.
Troy Younger, 5409 East 61st Way. I also have the privilege of serving as president of the Commerce City Cultural Council, and on behalf of the council, I want to invite every one of you to the Music in the Park Summer Concert Series. The Summer Concert Series is our third annual event. We feature local talent, homegrown talent, in a very fun, family-friendly environment over at Pioneer Park. The dates for the event are July 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, and the concerts run from 6 to 8:30. This year we also have the privilege of having the Commerce City Youth Commission helping us out with the event. They'll be providing some opening acts, and we're looking forward to seeing what they bring us. So, if I may approach and actually give you guys an invitation.
Okay. Give them to Bob. Well, thank you, Troy. Being part of the Youth Commission, too, I am very interested on what they're going to present, too.
Yes, sir.
Because at our last meeting, they had some great ideas, and so it's going to be a wonderful surprise this year to see the Concert in the Park series.
Yeah, it'll be a great joy to see what they bring to the table.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for all of your support in the Cultural Council also. Yeah, a lot of that wouldn't happen without you guys kind of having our back, so thank you.
And thank you to the Cultural Council for all they do also. Okay, next, the approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes for approval. The first set is the minutes of April 15th, 2013, and because Mr. Councilman Amador was absent for the April 15th meeting, I would like to have a motion to allow Councilman Amador to abstain from voting on the minutes. Do I have a... But you got here after the minutes. I mean, you got here halfway through the meeting, didn't you?
I got here right at the beginning of the meeting, so I was present for everything.
Okay, so we don't need this abstention for Councilman Amador. Can I get approval of the minutes for April 15th? Councilman McAdowney.
Move to approve the minutes of March 25.
Councilman Teeter.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'm sorry, I said the 25th, I meant the 15th.
Oh, okay, April 15th. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, those minutes are passed. And we also have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 25th spatial meeting. Can I get a motion for those minutes? Councilman Teeter.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes, the special meeting minutes for March 25th, 2013.
Councilwoman Carson.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Any corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, we have ordinance on first reading. Our first ordinance is ordinance 1957. Does anyone on council have any questions regarding this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council regarding this ordinance? Can I get a motion for this ordinance? Councilman McAdowney.
Would move to approve ordinance 1957 on first reading. Council is seated.
Councilman Amador.
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Attorney?
Title reads, an ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Colorado Department of Transportation grant in the amount of $2,500 for click-it or ticket enforcement efforts and the authorization of the expenditure thereof.
Okay, I have, the motion's been read, it's been approved. Can I get a council vote? Okay. We have a unanimous vote on it, and we have two excused. Mayor Sean Ford and Councilman Jim Benson are at ICSC in Las Vegas, so don't expect to see their vote tonight. And if you do, let me know, please. Our next ordinance is ordinance 1958. I would like to ask board members Noel Busk and David Krisky. How did I pronounce that correct? Christic, Operational Director and Deputy Executive Director of the E470 Traffic Safety Foundation, to come forward and make a presentation.
Council members, I'm very proud to represent the E470 Transportation Safety Foundation. We're very proud to be able to support the Commerce City Police Department's police camp this summer with a donation of $2,500 for their camp activities this summer. Along to my right is Mayor Noel Busk, former mayor of Thornton, with our Transportation Safety Foundation, and he'd like to say a few words also.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to thank Commerce City, and I'd especially like to thank the Police Department for an outstanding application. Whenever you involve safety and young people and people have a better understanding of police departments, you have a 100% winner. Thank you so much for your application, and we're proud to present you a check tonight for $2,500.
Well, thank you. Is there any council people who would like to speak? Councilman Douglas?
Yes, thank you very much for this grant. The kids looking forward to this. That's great that this is available from E470, so I appreciate that.
We're open every year.
Councilwoman Carson?
I was going to make a motion.
Councilman Teeter? Okay. Mr. Attorney?
There you go.
You need a motion?
Okay. I thought you wanted to address.
I just wanted to invite council down if you want to present the check.
Okay. We'll do that after the motion and the vote. Okay. Does any council have any questions about this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council regarding this ordinance? Can I get a motion for first reading, please? Councilman Douglas.
Jean did it second.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to approve ordinance 1958 on first reading. Council is seated.
Councilman Douglas?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Mr. City Attorney, would you read the ordinance?
Title reads, an ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the E470 Transportation Safety Foundation grant in the amount of $2,500 for the police camp program and the authorization of the expenditure thereof.
Okay, I've had the motion, I've had the second, read the title. Could we get a roll call vote, please?
There we go.
We have a unanimous vote. Okay, would council like to join us down there for a picture?
There we go. Ready. 1, 2, 3. I mean, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Okay. It's always good to get money. Okay, our third ordinance on first reading is ordinance 1960. Does anyone on council have any questions regarding this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council regarding this ordinance? Okay, can I get a motion for approval of the ordinance on first reading? Councilman Amador.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1960 on first reading.
Councilman McAdowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. City Attorney, would you read the title?
Title reads, an ordinance amending sections 2-1001 and 2-1003 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code pertaining to the adoption of election codes and write-in candidates.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second, and the City Attorney has read the title. Could I get a roll call vote? Okay. Ordinance 1960 passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we are into our presentations. I'd like to invite Tim Duda with the Community Service Supervisor for Seniors to Senior Advisory Committee to come forward, please.
Good evening. I'm Tim Duda, Recreation Supervisor of Community Services. Tonight, Sandy Crothers, George Maxey, Beth Scott will be presenting a PowerPoint presentation focusing on the 2013 Senior Advisory Committee goals. In advance, I would like to thank you for allowing the Advisory Committee members to do this presentation tonight. Therefore, I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker, Sandy Crothers.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'm not real sure of the appropriate etiquette, and also council members. And just as an aside, before I get into this report, you all sit up there in those hot seats every other week and face all of us out here, and it's not always pleasant stuff you hear. It was wonderful to see you sit up there and smile with the coloring book presentations and all the youth and parents that were here, and see how long you could hold that smile during the photo session. So anyway, that was a fun part of the meeting tonight. We're really excited to be here tonight and report on our senior advisory committees. We do know how to get more out of life. As you can tell in the photo and the presentation, this is shows you that we're active during all seasons of the year, too. This was taken during one of our winter field trips or day trips earlier this year. Tonight, we're here to tell you about our 2013 action plans, and then we hope to come back later and tell you about our accomplishments. Our third annual Senior Older Adult Focus Group meeting was held on February 5th this year. We had 17 members and 7 staff members participate. This is one of our opportunities to give direct input on the senior center, on the older adult and programs and services that are provided, take a look at what's working, what needs improvement, what new ideas do we have that we'd like to see implemented or at least tried. This year, staff used a different format for our meeting, and it really fostered much more interaction, small group discussion, and as a result, we had many new ideas generated from our get-together. They started the meeting off with a PowerPoint presentation reviewing last year's activities. I don't know about you, but when I'm right in the middle of something, or if I'm really committed to something, really involved in something, sometimes you get frustrated and you don't feel like you're making any progress, you're not getting anything done. Well, seeing this PowerPoint presentation this year was kind of one of those wow moments for me. You know, you could sit back, take a look, take a breath, and when this was shown in a complete picture, we have been getting a lot accomplished. So yes, things are happening at our senior center. And it's also very rewarding for those of us when we have these kind of meetings and come up with action plans to see things actually happening. The next slide will show you some pictures from this group meeting, and in the top picture with the group, behind it you'll see a number of pieces of paper, and it listed many of the ideas that came out of the meeting. These we will take to our advisory committees so that they can incorporate them into their own action plans. I'm also on the outreach committee, and I would like to introduce the other members. Those of you that are here tonight, please stand up when I read your name. I'd also like to point out this year, it's very exciting. We have a couple new members on our committee, and it's always nice to get fresh perspectives and new ideas, new eyes looking at issues. The other members include Liz Boyd, Sherry Tremokas, Maxine Galindo, Al Hart, Linda Wolf, and Francis Zajac. The purpose of our committee is to assist staff with planning, coordinating, and leading outreach efforts to target older adults and seniors in the Commerce City area, or actually the Adams County at large. Last year, our outreach committee developed a comprehensive outreach plan, so we were not in a position of having to recreate the wheel, so to speak, this year, so we could jump right in and drill down and start coming up with new and different ideas to try out to be more effective in our outreach efforts. The next slide will show you some of our 2013 goals. As usual, we will continue our outreach events. The slide shows you a number of the places we'll be appearing, and these are really fun for us because this is our opportunity to get out in person, mix with our friends, our neighbors, other citizens, tell them about the Senior Center and the program and activities, and hopefully entice or encourage, invite them to become active with us. We will also be updating, and I want to say, yes, we will be at the 2 city neighborhood outreach picnics this year. Once again, we are going to update our volunteer desk welcome packet and plan. Part of this will be a frequently asked question sheet that will be used for both volunteers, staff, as well as new members, so that we're consistent in the information that we're giving out. We've already developed an outreach committee evaluation form. We'll use this when we go to any of our outreach events to kind of record the history of it, any pertinent information that we learn, but specifically, we hope to use it to make sure we do the follow-up that is always necessary when you get questions and make new contacts in the community. And I guess as a conclusion, part of our outreach effort, I want to extend an open invitation, a warm welcome to all of you council members to come down and join us anytime. Drop in, have a cup of coffee with us, see the newly remodeled senior center. Come to one of our monthly birthday lunches. We have anywhere from 60 to 100 of us exciting older adults there, enjoying each other's company, enjoying the entertainment, and it's a wonderful meet and greet session, and we'd love to have you anytime. Or you can come on one of our many day trips or other activities. You can find these in our monthly On the Move newsletter, and I know this is included in all of your monthlies packets, and it'll also give you updates each month on some of the activities that we're doing. Now I would like to introduce George Maxey from our program committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Mr. Mayor, councilors, I'm George Maxey, a member of the program subcommittee. Our subcommittee members are, and if those who are here will please rise, Zach Roth, who is a staff member, Leora Richards, Martha Applegarth, myself, Thelma Cole, Shirley Valentine, Jenny Loveridge, and Tilly Villarreal. This subcommittee's purpose is to provide advice, feedback, suggestions, and program ideas to our staff from ourselves and the membership at large to help improve the older adult senior programs, and especially focus on the development of ongoing program brochures distributed by Parks and Recreation. These efforts are focused on improving the existing continuous cycle process with communications, knowledge, and experience using 5 evaluation steps: listening, asking questions, correctly interpreting the current reality, go elsewhere for more information, and synchronization of all elements with the intent of eliminating waste and inefficiencies to enhance value. Such questions as, at this moment, what do the shareholders want or value? Is there a conflict of values amongst the various shareholders? Thus, our goal of providing the greatest value to Parks and Recreation stakeholders, and particularly the older adult population. The subcommittee's goals for 2013 are, number 1, to address ideas for upcoming brochures and monthly calendars to include day trip possibilities, dinners out with their locations, museums, tour sites, and venues of interest. Number 2, to suggest ideas for classes and seminars on a wide range of interesting subjects. Number 3, as in the past years, we are accumulating donations from our advisory members to provide Christmas dinners for shut-ins that have no families or none near at hand, and then providing the logistics to deliver those meals. Number 4, while the senior lobby and adjacent areas changes are done for the most part, some of our efforts are focused on making suggestions for the users or the uses of these improved facilities. Mr. Mayor, councilors, it has been a distinct pleasure speaking to you, and I deeply appreciate your attention and ongoing efforts supporting the Recreation Center, its staff, and the senior section. Thank you. And now let me introduce Beth Scott.
Always have to move things down. Can you hear me? Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Gosh, you got a promotion, didn't you, tonight, just for us. Isn't that nice? And council members. I represent the Health and Wellness Committee, as well as the Umbrella Committee. And I would like to introduce them separately. I'd like to introduce the Health and Wellness Committee. If they'll please stand up. There's Kelsey Whistler, who is our guardian angel. And volunteers, Ollie Grimer, Leona Heater, Dennis Lefevre, Lois Heinrich Lefevre, Linda Ranelli, Karen Smith, and of course me. Our main purpose is to provide feedback, suggestions, and input regarding the health and fitness and wellness programs, especially the older adult and us seniors. Our 2013 goals are focused on the following. We have seminars on impaired vision and hearing, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis, and fall prevention. Second, we have a Forever Young event. I don't know whether any of you were at our first one, but it's this big machine that's up there and you pound it when you see your color, and it's a lot of fun. And we invite all of you next spring to enter the competition. Then we have a Silver Sneakers tour more than once that includes a tour of the whole facility and shows how to use the different equipment upstairs. Collaborating with community events such as Nine Health Fair, Way and Win, and Live Well, Colorado. The Umbrella Committee consists of 2 volunteers from each of our 3 committees. They are, and if you'll please stand, Sandy Carruthers, Maxine Galindo, Ollie Grimmer, George Maxey, Leona Richards, and myself. We do the special projects and represent standing committees during quarterly updates, as well as assist staff in creation of meeting agendas, and last but not least, participate in communicating with City Council as well as outside departments. This committee goals for 2013 are to review the focus group information, to create an action plan for committees, to communicate ideas to committee groups, and to provide updates to you wonderful people of what we're going to do and then what we've done. And last but not least, we are trying to learn to enhance our communication between the different committees. That wraps up our report card, advising all of you of the dedicated efforts of a volunteer group of older adults to vitalize our community to the best of our ability and help us get more out of life. Thank you so much for your allowing us the time to present to you, and we thank you so much for helping us out. Tim?
Well, before the committee leaves, I know that we have some council people that have questions and everything. First person is Councilman Amador.
First of all, I want to thank Des, George, Sandy, and Tim for your presentations tonight. I did not quite make the connection earlier tonight about get more out of life by. So thank you for explaining that on the T-shirt. Truly appreciated. But I would like to request that maybe somehow city staff or someone, maybe that would be Tim. I'd like to maybe lasso you as a champion to provide information to the city council on the events that you're doing. It may very easily be providing information for our mailboxes within the city so that we know the events are happening, and I would maybe take it as far as, and I'm not sure if it's possible, to get the events at least sent out as a meeting request in our Outlook, because I know that the pancake breakfast was a couple weeks ago, it might have been 3 weeks ago now, and I just happened to drop into the rec center for swim lessons for my daughter, and I was very disappointed that I was unaware of the event. And so I think through your presentation and asking for better communication, that would be helpful. So maybe we could look into that with city staff.
Definitely. And just to touch base too with our newsletters are where most of our information is. And we do, in here, this is our monthly newsletter. And it comes out monthly at our birthday lunch, which is the third Tuesday of the month. And we also funnel this information into your mailboxes too. So this is a great place to get some of that. But we can also look at those additional steps too of trying to get that information to you in other avenues.
Very good, thank you. I just know I'm lost if it's not in my Outlook. It's not on my radar. So.
Paper, Andrew.
Okay. Councilwoman Carson.
I want to take this time and... Am I on? I do it backwards every night. And thank all of you for the presentation, but I really want to thank those of you who volunteer your time. It's a lot of effort that you put into this, and because of the effort and the time that you donate to this, all the seniors in Commerce City benefit. So thank you very much. It's been, I don't know how many presentations I've seen from the seniors. I find this to be the best one yet. I don't know. It seems like you guys have really gotten down and decided that what needs... George, did you want to say something? Oh.
And one side, one answer.
You brought to us tonight all of this information, and you're collecting data, and you're looking at your programs and figuring out what it is you like and where you need to go, and I commend you on that because, like I said, it really is. And you know you're doing something right because you've actually picked up new volunteers. So that's always a good sign. You know, I support everything that you do, and I think you all know that almost 50% of this council is seniors. 40% of us are... So thank you, and it is. I know that you all have a lot of time that you have volunteered here, and so if there's anything that I, as a council person, can do and help you with, just let me know. But thank you again for the presentation, George.
Kudos to our staff. Last year, almost every one of our staff was brand new. And we were getting acquainted with each other. And if for those of you on council who sat through that last meeting or session a year ago, and the difference between now is we got this damn train a-rolling now, and it's going down the road.
Well, George, thank you for reminding me because I did forget to thank staff. And staff is always a crucial part of anything and any success that we have in this city. So thank you. It really is noticeable. Very noticeable of the difference here, so thank you.
Councilman McAdowney?
I'm going to start by saying thank you, and I'm going to pick up where Councilman Carson was going. Sandy, you said something at the opening of your comments about, when you're in the middle of this, you just want to keep going, and you're focused on that goal, and it's difficult to have perspective on where you've been and the accomplishments made. And I think this must be the theme for my day because I was having a similar discussion at work today, and I just saw some of the best evidence of a solid team and a well-oiled system of people coming together, aligned against a common goal. When I heard the updates from each of you about, to Ms. Carson's point about the way that you're looking at where you've been, where you're at, where you're going, I mean, I'd like you to come give a seminar to some of the folks that I work with. Because this is how it works, right? I mean, when you come together and when you sit down and you look at where it is you want to end up and you align on accomplishing those goals and you constantly reassess, where are we? Where have we been? Are we still on the road that we want to be on? Have things changed? You get somewhere, right? As opposed to just sort of burning a lot of energy along the way. you guys have, to Ms. Carson's point, each time we've seen you come before us, I remember those first meetings, and when we said, we'd love to hear from you more often. I mean, it's so cool to get these updates and see the progress and the evolution of these programs and your subcommittees and how they're working together. I would say without hesitation, it's the best example of this kind of citizen engagement that I think we have in the city right now. I can't think of any other group, any other board, commission, or otherwise that can demonstrate citizens coming together, working with staff, and you guys are solving problems for yourselves. I mean, you're in charge of your own destiny. You're driving, right? I mean, you see something, you work together, and you make it reality, and that's the coolest thing in the world. That is, I would love to see more of that, right? So thank you for giving us all something to aspire to and an example to follow. Thank you.
Councilman Douglas.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the seniors and the staff. I do remember that meeting last year, and I won't say how awkward, but I can tell there was some folks weren't too happy. And I like the change and the progress you guys have made. And you guys are on top here in our city. We have the seniors. This is where one day I would like to be, a senior. And hopefully I'll make it.
Don't hurry.
We have a great youth commission, and without the seniors, the youth don't know where to look and where it ends. And I think you guys have a great place at the Rec Center, and hopefully in the future we can expand on that area. And as far as your organization, I think you guys are doing great. Every single one of you guys, it's a great support. There's a lot more folks here tonight as it was than it was last year, and looking forward to see where you guys end up later on in the year. And I would like to participate in some of your events. I wasn't able to make the pancake breakfast because I was told that the seniors weren't allowed to reach out to the different departments and to the council, and so that's been taken care of. So hopefully it does help when those things come up on our calendar. We do get the inserts on a monthly basis as far as the birthdays and everything, and that's great. With everything that's happening, we do have to take upon ourselves to go ahead and enter states as well. But to have a reminder would be great. So I'm looking forward to those dates. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you. First of all, the energy that you have makes me tired. However, your passion is very contagious, and I truly admire your group. You just continue to build and grow, and you're recruiting more and more people as it goes on, and I think that's wonderful. I think that gives our residents something to look forward to, something to participate in. The camaraderie is wonderful. I look forward to the many accomplishments that you will achieve, and you have my full support as always. Even though I wasn't at the pancake breakfast, I was heartbroken about that, but I was there in spirit. My mom was there to represent me somehow, some way, eat a pancake or two, I guess, but those are the events that I look forward to. And so with my support, whatever I can do for you within my power, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here. Whether it's an event that you maybe need some help with in planning, or just some suggestions, or even another person to maybe hand out some flyers, or whatever the case may be, I'm here. So thank you again for your presentation, okay?
And last but not least, but I want to thank you. Everybody has said what I wanted to say, so all I can say is give you a hearty thanks for everything that you're doing and everything that you've done. And I would like to request, in the past, either Evelyn Moses or Bobby Crawl used to come to council every year and sell tickets for the pancake breakfast. And they did not take no for an answer. everybody on council bought tickets to the pancake breakfast. So I want somebody to grab up the banner and be that person that every year they show up at council and from staff and say, okay, we're selling tickets for the pancake breakfast, or whatever the case may be, and do not take no for an answer. Because I know these people, they all have money. Okay, but I want to again say thank you so much for everything that you do for the city of Commerce City. Thank you.
I'm not going to step up and be that person because I don't think I could ever follow in Bobby's footsteps, but you're right. And it wasn't just council members that she got out, but I'll tell you what, I'll promise you, Renee, I will take that suggestion back to our outreach committee and we'll make sure we get some activists that will be pounding on your doors and coming to meetings. Maybe we'll even come back and speak at Citizens Communication some night to remind you of something that's special that's coming up. So we do appreciate
tickets.
all your support. Pardon?
Always bring tickets when you bring it up.
And change, right?
Yes.
Since you have a lot of money and have big bills to give us. We do appreciate your support and interest. And I think I neglected to say that our outreach committee also has two excellent staff facilitators, and they are Mr. Tim Duda and Megan Dwyer, and they have been great facilitators for our committees. And the city's communication department also has really stepped up. Megan is one of the communication specialists, and they've really helped facilitate getting the word out in the community and publications with our older adult programs and activities. It's a remarkable difference, and they are helping us come up with much better promotional materials and flyers and brochures. Even our On the Move newsletter has been greatly improved. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have administrative council business. And during this course of business, our city manager has some follow-up thoughts on the QCI that he'd like to bring to us so we can give the staff direction on what we would like to see done in the future for the outreach. I guess it is outreach. Okay. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bullock. City Council's had a lot of excellent discussion. You've had a number of presentations. Really since the council retreat in February, you've been spending a great deal of time talking about key capital projects and, at least as important, how to fund them. What we wanted to do is kind of bring that information together tonight, but before we go out and start surveying the community, make sure we're hearing you correctly and give you an opportunity to give us some formal direction before we proceed and start surveying the community. So what we have is some slides to summarize the parks and recreation projects, the transportation projects, and the potential revenue sources for how to pay for those projects. As a reminder, this has been a process, again, that really started for City Council when the QCI stakeholder group made their presentation to you of their recommendations in January of this year. QCI's work started more than a year prior to this January. But for City Council, your work started in earnest when you received the QCI's presentation in January. You spent a great deal of time at your retreat in February brainstorming. And this is the steps that we've gone through with you to help process information, provide additional information based on questions that you've asked, And so I like this because it reminds me that this has been a process that's been ongoing, but it is leading to something. And this is an important step this evening. These next few slides are really summary information. It's information that you've seen before, so we're presenting it again just as a refresher of prior discussion that you've had. This is information that you had a chance to review and discuss last week. It's a listing of the key parks and recreation projects that City Council has identified as priorities, continuing the work of the QCI committee, and it shows the total cost of doing those priority projects, and this is capital cost only. This does not include the annual operation and maintenance costs once these facilities were to be built. We do think it's important to point out these are estimates. We think they're good estimates. We also think they're conservative estimates. What we don't want to do is develop a plan to raise funds to build these projects and then not have enough money to do what it is that City Council has indicated they would like to do. So we think these are good estimates, but if we're going to err, we want to err on the high side. As I mentioned, the total construction cost does not include the annual cost to operate and maintain these new facilities. So it's important as we discuss prioritizing construction projects, talking about how to pay for the capital costs, that we not forget that there's going to be an annual budget needed to properly operate and maintain these new facilities. Along with park and recreation facilities, City Council's had a lot of discussion about key transportation needs. The ones that City Council has primarily been focused on have been Rosemary Street, 88th Avenue, and you see the costs that we've developed for you and the approximate timelines. You might notice, and I think this was presented at last week's meeting, we have an updated cost for 88th Avenue that does not include doing the grade separation at the UP Railroad. Doing that grade separation more than doubles the cost of widening this stretch of road. So it's still a possibility, it's still an option for City Council to consider, but I believe the discussion last week was to continue this discussion without the grade separation as a way to help manage the overall costs. Another key transportation priority all the way along was Bend Tower Road. This is a summary of the features that would be part of an improvement project to widen Tower Road, along with the cost of widening the entire section within Commerce City. A chart has been developed that we've used along the way that lists potential revenue sources on the left-hand side, and then talks about how much money would be raised with those different revenue sources and the uses for those funds. So this is not a new slide, but it's a reminder of the prior discussion that the council has had. We then started to look at potential funds that could be raised with certain ballot initiatives, and then tried again to dive into a little bit more detail to match those revenue sources up to a program to actually construct these priority capital facilities. So at the top of this particular slide, you see what's been discussed as a revenue source for park and recreation projects, which is a 0.5% sales tax increase that would generate $5 million a year. But remember, we need to have funds available for operation and maintenance of those park and recreation facilities. So sort of off the top of that $5 million a year, we need to set aside funds for operation and maintenance. So that leaves not quite $3.7 million annually to build facilities. So Roger and his team then took that $3.7 million available annually, projected what kind of total funds that would generate if the city were to sell bonds over 30 years at 4%. So that gives us a total amount of money that needs to be repaid over that 30-year period. In the column labeled cost, you see the cost estimates that we've developed to build those facilities. The middle column, titled annual debt service, is what it would cost us annually to borrow that money in order to build those facilities. And when the total amount at the bottom, in this case 4.8 million, exceeds the net available in the top right of the screen, 3.7 million, we then took the next step in the final column on the right-hand side of the slide and said, all right, if we're limited to $3.7 million annually, what projects can we build with the money available? And I think staff was able to walk through this slide with you last week. I understand last week that there was also some discussion about what would a 0.75% sales tax increase generate in terms of revenue, and what would that enable us to do? Let me go back to the prior slide. What we did on this slide in order to reduce the cost of the projects to fit with the available money, if a 0.5% sales tax increase was approved by voters, the project that was cut back was a community park. There isn't enough money to fund a community park project, and this is just a suggestion from staff's perspective for discussion purposes. The next slide, if voters were to approve a 0.75% sales tax increase, all of the projects that City Council has identified as priorities would be fundable with the available funds on an annual basis. Similarly, we looked at transportation projects. City Council discussion has been a 0.5-cent sales tax increase to fund transportation needs. The good news with transportation projects is annual operation and maintenance is quite a bit less, so that leaves more money available annually over a 30-year period to pay for the capital cost of these projects. So you'll see again $5 million generated with a 0.5-cent sales tax increase for transportation purposes. Only $100,000 annually would be needed in additional operation and maintenance, leaving $4.9 million available for projects. Likewise, if we use that annual income to sell bonds over a 30-year period at 4%, that generates a need to pay that money back annually. So under the cost column, you see the cost of those projects that we've talked about previously. The annual debt service column is the what it will cost us annually to borrow that money and build that project. And so on the right-hand column, the good news is a 0.5-cent sales tax increase for transportation purposes we think would be enough to build those priority projects. We also wanted to point out to City Council that there are other funding sources to fund the widening of Tower Road. That's very good news. The GIDs are available to help pay for the widening of Tower Road, and it's appropriate that funds generated through our general improvement districts be used to pay for Tower Road. The challenge is those GIDs won't generate enough money initially to widen the road now, so we started to look at how would we spread the cost for widening Tower Road amongst these different entities. So staff took a look at traffic that's generated in the city that uses Tower Road. How is that Tower Road traffic distributed amongst these different areas? And so it was our estimate that about a third of the traffic that uses Tower Road on a daily basis really comes from the current boundaries of the Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District. So it made sense that a third of the cost to widen Tower Road would be paid by the existing NIGID. The regional line item, 14,000 cars a day, that's our estimate of the amount of traffic that uses Tower Road that isn't within any of these areas. This could be other Commerce City areas or traffic outside Commerce City. So we estimate that about 15% of the average daily traffic on Tower Road does not come from within one of these three areas. The E470 commercial area GID, we estimate about 31%. And the residential E470 GID about 21%. So it's a method for distributing the cost to widen Tower Road amongst these different entities. So what that looks like then would be a spread of cost based on those percentages. It's not the only way to do it. It's an initial suggestion from staff of one way you could distribute costs to widen Tower Road. It's the regional piece that wouldn't be able to be funded by one of those three GIDs, and so the general fund, through this tax increase, would cover that portion. But in order to allow the project to proceed more quickly, if a sales tax increase were approved by voters, that money would come into the general fund. So the city's general fund would initially pay for the widening of Tower Road, and we would develop loan agreements with these three GIDs to pay the money back for their fair share of the Tower Road widening over time as those GIDs generate revenue. As we talk about potentially asking voters to increase sales tax, it's important to keep into perspective our sales tax rate compared to surrounding communities. We've showed this slide before, but we thought it was good to remind council how our current sales tax rate stacks up against other communities in the Metro Denver area. And it's a reminder that the sales tax increases that we're contemplating have a downside, and that is that if City Council were to decide to put tax increases on the ballot, and if those were approved, it would potentially put us above other Denver area communities. So we think it's good to have that information so that you're proceeding in a very thoughtful manner. The other thing that's helpful about this information is that it shows you the additional sales tax rates that are bundled together to come up with each community's cumulative sales tax rate. Again, in Commerce City's case, our sales and use tax rate is 3.5%. Our total tax rate is 8.25%. And you see in the far right, we're one of a minority of communities in Metro Denver that doesn't charge sales tax on food purchases. So these two slides, again, help give you some perspective, help you relate the city's current tax rate to other surrounding communities, and allow you to sort of factor in where we would rank should these tax increases be approved, or should council elect to ask voters to increase those tax rates. Having said all that, again, most of this is information that you've heard already. We do think it's important, before we begin to go out and seriously and scientifically survey voters about the relative merits of putting these things on the ballot in November, we think it's good for council to come together and take action. And we've proposed 3 different actions. This first action would be an action that would ask staff to go out and survey in the community, survey voters about the different revenue options. And it wouldn't, we are limited in the number of questions we can ask the community in a reasonable survey. And so this is a suggestion for some language in order to direct us to put together those survey questions and then go out and ask voters what they would think. The second question focuses on park and recreation facilities, asking us to go and ask voters whether they would support in November tax increases to pay for these projects. And then the third question, similarly, taking action tonight to direct us to survey voters about their opinions relative to transportation projects. We think it helps. We've been hearing consensus amongst council on these things, but yet I think it's a good opportunity for council to actually take action and make sure that we're hearing you clearly. So that is our suggestion for tonight under administrative council business. What's the process going forward? We are ready to begin developing survey questions and go out and ask voters what they would think. We would also, as part of that, conduct broader community education efforts over the balance of the summer. We would do the surveying of the community in the next 30 days so that by July 1st we could present to you those results. And then July 8th, have a study session discussion about the information that we collect through that surveying effort. And then as a reminder, by August 19th, City Council would need to decide ballot language and affirmatively decide to put these questions on the ballot in November. So that's the information that we have to present tonight, and I'm very interested in your comments and questions.
Okay. I don't see any, okay. Names are popping up and then falling off. Mr. McAdowney.
Thanks for the update. Obviously, and yes, we did have a lively discussion in our study session last week, as you inferred. I think, again, it's just, and you touched on the importance of this discussion and the fact that we really need to consider well the options and make sure that we're putting the right items forward. So for that, I think it was a great discussion last week. In terms of the 3 items that have been brought forward by staff for action, I think all 3 make great sense, and I'd be prepared to make a motion to direct staff to engage on each of these, but I'll wait until we have the remaining questions raised by staff. Let me just, I did want to make one comment here. Hang on, let me go back. In terms of the potential revenues on slide 7,
Tell me when.
the yellow table. There we go.
Okay.
I would beg to differ, or maybe I'm wrong, on the first row, the sales tax increase, it's deemed as businesses primarily pay. To me, this is really a split, right? I mean, to me, this is the citizens are paying, or anyone, right, purchasing anything that has a sales tax levied against it. Certainly, the business is ultimately where we extract those, but the funds are coming most directly, in my mind, from an end user purchasing a good or service, paying taxes for that, and that comes through. So I want to be careful how we position that in terms of survey and citizen discussion, because to me it really is, and I think our first survey touched on this, as a citizen, if I'm going to go buy something, am I willing to pay how much more if I know that how much more is going to be directed toward either roads or parks, et cetera? Is that a fair differentiation?
I understand the point clearly. Even if a majority of sales and use tax revenue on our community comes from businesses, ultimately the end user of those businesses is paying that tax. And some of those end users are Commerce City residents, and we're also taxpayers ourselves when we buy goods and services here in the community. So I understand that can be a bit misleading if we say primarily businesses.
And you touch on another facet to this, which is this is one of those taxes that doesn't put the burden exclusively on Commerce City residents. It does take into account that people from elsewhere are buying things that have a tax associated, and those taxes would go toward this as well. And I know that's been one of the things when we've talked about property tax or just a GID or otherwise, where it focuses the paying community on a very small portion of the community, and this is one of those that helps distribute that burden.
That's correct. That's what we meant initially by saying primarily businesses. A majority of our revenue annually in sales and use tax. First of all, sales and use tax is by far the most significant source of revenue that we get annually, and most of that is paid by our business community in Commerce City. Our assumption is a majority of the end users are not Commerce City residents.
And if in fact we're deeming this to be sales and use tax, I think it's important that we specify that on the slide, because we've, to this point, been talking about it only as sales tax, which I think most of us correlate with, again, more of a consumer-facing impact. When I hear use tax inserted, I certainly now agree that shifts it to a business driver as well. And so I don't know if others on council had a similar
very good point
read, but I would appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Douglas?
Yes, thank you for the update on this. On slide 7, it says on the bottom, does not include Mile High Flea Market, because the way it was written. Will that end in 2010 with them, and then or is that something at that time council would have to introduce that for them to be involved?
2010?
Part of that process.
It wasn't 2010.
No, I'm sorry. A 10-year window on that.
I'm not positive the time limit. Maybe some other council member does. It's something like 2015.
I would be hesitant to make I don't remember, so I'm not going to even suggest.
It might have been 10 years from the date of annexation.
Okay, 10 years. Yeah.
And that was, they were annexed when?
2010, wasn't it?
I'm looking at Mr. Marino here. Mr. Marino, do you remember the date? It was 2010.
There you are. It'd be 2020.
Right. But at that time, will this just fall into the category? Or is that
Just to
something?
clarify that provision said the city council would not initiate the tax, but that doesn't mean a citizen's petition couldn't initiate the tax.
Right.
In 2020, right?
Well, they could, the citizen petition for initiating the tax could come at any time.
Okay.
That's not bound by the 10-year rule. It's only if the city council initiates the tax with passage of an ordinance that you initiate that the year 2010 would, or 2020 would apply.
Okay. And I know that our study session, I had brought up the Tower Road widening, and it showed 4 lanes, but just never heard the cost of what it would cost to do 6 lanes instead of the 4 to start out with. How much additional is that construction?
We can see, I don't know if those estimates were developed or not. The reason we did the initial estimates for 4 lanes is that would appear to give us sufficient capacity for quite some time into the future, meaning we wouldn't need those 5th and 6th lanes for quite some time. But we can see, I don't know offhand if Public Works had developed an estimate for full 6 lanes, but we can check.
Okay. And as far as the survey is, would be something not just to the residents in the way as far as communication, but maybe going to somebody's grocery, because we have a lot of grocery stores here, and maybe have folks out in front of the grocery stores taking surveys?
Well, we're talking about 2 different things. One would be actual surveys, which we're proposing to do as a telephone survey of registered voters. Additionally, should City Council, or maybe even before City Council decides to put anything on the ballot, starting a more aggressive community education effort that'll be every which way we can think of to help share the information that City Council's acquired over the last several months with the rest of the community in advance of voters having to vote in November.
All right. And I know we talked about consultants through this whole process. Are we ever going to have discussion with them to see how their workings are between the staff and the city?
If you mean hearing from the consultants that are doing the surveying for us, yes.
Okay.
Were you referring to some other
No, just
consultants?
this
Those
project,
consultants.
yeah. Uh-huh. Thanks.
Councilwoman Carson?
Thanks for this presentation, and I would like to direct you to do all of these. The only thing that I would like is I would like the questions to be put as separate questions instead of 1% sales tax increase. I would like to put the question out there separately to see where the level of support is for Parks and Rec and where the level of support is for roads. And then I would like to, when you can go out there and personally do them, you have a lot more ability for conversation and question and answers. So if we're doing phone surveys, and I'm not sure how you would be able to do this, to give a little more detailed information instead of under the Action 2, it says Community Park, Second Creek, Northern Recreation Center, new, including aquatics, Northern Parks, new, and then existing rec center. If it's possible in that survey to give a little more detail, for one thing, I do know that people have had questions about what is the existing recreation center enhancements. So I know there's been a lot of information wanted on what would take place there. And then I know there's a lot of questions, well, what would this new rec center also look like? So if we could just give, a little bit of that, what the presentation was given to us by Parks and Rec of what that would look like. And then I don't know if there's a way that we could set it up where when you're done with that telephone survey or whatever, if you need more information, you can go here, and we could direct them to a website or something that actually gave them more details of what they were wanting. And recently, one of the things that I learned from one of our staffs is maybe there's a confusion among citizens in our city that anything that's in our city, whether it's north or south, is for the use of everyone. It doesn't matter. If we're building a new rec center in the north, that does not mean that is for the northern residents. That is for any resident. The residents that live up north are more than welcome to use the rec center down in the core city. And so that was one of the reasons there's going to be some differences in these recreation centers, so that you could go to either one and maybe would have a broader amount of stuff to offer to you. And so, yeah, if we could just do those things. But, yeah, and then I think that as much as we can reach out is probably the better. So thank you.
Councilman Amador?
I'd like to suggest in your community outreach for, it's on slide, I believe it's 13, the sales tax comparison. Yeah, right here, this one. Currently, this is in alphabetical order, and so it's on two separate slides, and the next slide as well. Maybe if we could prioritize this, at least for our outreach, for that total column to be the way that it's sorted, because right now I have no idea, without really having to do the math on a couple of different slides, where Commerce City is on a total of 8.25%. In knowing that we want to stay competitive in attracting businesses to Commerce City and economic development, it would be helpful to know exactly where Commerce City is in this list of cities. And even if we don't do that, maybe we do say there are like 20 cities listed and Commerce City is 9th, 10th, 11th, or wherever they're at. That way it gives some indication of where we're at and trying to keep businesses attracted to Commerce City. So that's my suggestion.
Councilwoman Carson?
That just brought up another question for me, because when you're looking at those charts, and we also have the column for food, I don't know if there's any way that you can, if people want to know, well, what kind of revenue is that food tax bringing in? Because the majority of them all say yes. So, you know, if you're going to show the comparison of the tax, and people say, well, why can't we do the same things if we're all bringing in the same amount of money? Well, we're not bringing in the same amount of money, and I truly don't know how much that food tax generates.
We have estimated that if we were to tax food, it would generate perhaps an additional $2 million a year. Currently, our sales and use tax generates about $35 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Taxing food sounds like would generate perhaps an extra $2 million.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, on the slide 7, we still had stormwater up there, and I know that that was one of the ones, because of the time constraint on stormwater, it's going to be dropped off. So as a potential revenue source, I would not want it to even show up, because I don't want people to think that we're going ahead and doing stormwater when we aren't. There was something that someone said that brought something to mind that I really liked the idea that Councilman Amador had, with the fact that going, instead of alphabetical order by cities, going by how it comes down in a numerical order from that total, with the highest being Castle Rock probably. And I would imagine if we had Lone Tree and a couple of them others out there, that they might even be a little bit higher than we are. But and it would basically show us where we are in the pack, because definitely going for 1% would put us at one of the higher rates in the metro area. But that doesn't mean that there are other cities that aren't out there this November that are doing the same thing or considering it. So it isn't something that we're the only ones out there saying what is a good way to bring your city up to another standard. And in speaking about this, I had a citizen today rake me over the coals about how short-sighted councils are, that we are looking at 5-10 years where we should be looking at 20-50 years down the road, because that 5-10 year period is over like that, and a lot of the decisions you make come back and bite you on the parts of your body you don't want to be bit on. And he explained to me that councils in the past, and he spatially explained to me about this property in Cronky, was short-sighted, and we should have been looking at the long-term 50-year picture instead of the 10-year picture. So for him, if he is watching tonight, it is one of the things that this council is doing with this thing we're doing. We're looking to the future of Commerce City long after we're dead. Because if we aren't going to make it good for our children's children, then we're basically just fooling ourselves. So I didn't get to use my part of the conversation this afternoon because I just got to listen. But I did a very good job of listening, and I understood everything he said. Ms. Carson.
I keep coming up with more stuff.
You dropped it?
That $2 million that you said that you thought would be generated out of food, you know, these are the things that our citizens don't know that we learn when we get on council. So you take that $2 million, because there's like 29 cities that we're showing on there, and out of the 29, all but like 8 are charging food tax. So that's $2 million that's being generated in other cities. If you showed how many cities pay for trash pickup, you'd probably come up with the one, us. So there's $4 million there. And, you know, that's what we're looking at to be generated almost with this sales tax percentage increase. And so, you know, information like that to citizens of we're not misspending money and we can't build things that other cities are doing because we're not doing it correct. It's just that information that they don't know is out, what really is going on. And so, like I said, if we didn't have trash that we paid for, and if we had food tax that these other cities do, we're almost at the $5 million then. So all the information that you can get out to citizens, I think, helps support things.
Mr. McAdowney?
I was actually going to make a very similar point to Ms. Carson's in terms of that $2 million delta on tax. I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. The first thing I thought of was the exact same example that Ms. Carson just raised in terms of trash, right? I mean, we've talked time and again about the fact that our property tax take effectively is spent on trash. That's kind of frustrating. Here's a potential way to offset that, right? You could start to charge tax on food, and all of a sudden now you're fully funding, and now there's still $2 million in the general fund to do other good things with. The other angle that you could take here is by adding the food tax in, you would only necessarily have to look at potentially a point, right, and still keep your overall sales tax within a competitive range. But these are the different calculations, I think, the different options that we have to look at. What are the ways that we can secure that revenue? What is going to keep us competitive? What's going to cover those fixed costs that we have to account for? And again, how do we, at every opportunity, provide that transparency into what it is we are providing, where we are ahead of the pack in terms of our neighbors, and what you're not paying for, right? I mean, that's that's a really huge thing, just to be able for citizens to know that you're not paying tax on your food, you're not paying for your trash. These are things that you get from the city. You know, people operate under this mindset, a fairly stereotypical mindset that, well, you know, I spent all this money on taxes and I don't get anything for it. Well, how do you differentiate Commerce City in terms of the things that you are getting that you might not be getting elsewhere? I think that's important to know. But again, I think this all goes back to what are we going to do, what are we going to direct staff to do in terms of the QCI effort. I'm prepared to make a motion that we ask staff to proceed with action items 1, 2, 3, with the additional nuances that staff has, or that council has referenced in terms of nuancing or framing these questions. I think so much of this comes down to how we frame these questions. If you just asked somebody if they wanted to go add a point to our sales tax to cover some road and Parks and Rec projects, and they didn't have the context for the $4 million of benefit that they're already getting that they don't know, who's going to want to step up and spend any more money on anything, right? So how, and I'm not a survey designer, but how do you author the survey? How do you provide sufficient setup to ask these questions so that you get an answer that's meaningful? I mean, again, we're in a position where we're going to be racing to November here, and how do you undertake the appropriate amount of education so that folks really get it, right? If we've learned anything from our school district counterparts or others who have sought to raise taxes recently, it's where the voter doesn't understand all the elements in the equation that they make the obvious choice, which is no. And so how do we help them see things in the same way that we've learned to, or we are seeing things? I know it's not an overnight solution, but it's something that we should be striving for at every opportunity, every interaction, every contact, every time we talk to our community. How do we take that opportunity to help tell that story, help give them that context? So I'll restate. I move that we direct staff to proceed on actions 1, 2, and 3 with very special focus on these questions, and also looking at some of these additional formulas for with and without food.
Okay. Okay, I
think Bob had a comment on my comment.
I have a motion, but I'm going to hold it up for the second until Mr. Douglas speaks and Bob speaks. Okay, Mr. Douglas.
Yes, to the food tax here in Commerce City. We've been receiving a lot of folks shop here from Denver, from Brighton, because we don't have that food tax, and there is a section on your tax for food. It's prepared food, and there's a lot of folks buy prepared food, and there's a lot of folks who also don't. For people who can't afford prepared food and have to make their own food, that's going to cut into their budget. So that's less food in those homes, and everybody has the same level of income. So what we're doing is we're going to tax the people who can afford it, and for the ones who can't, they're going to be forced to pay that when it comes to saving money on preparing their own food. So I think we need to be careful about putting food tax on, because it's not what you think, and there are a lot of people here within Commerce City who really depend on every dime they get when it comes to buying their groceries. So I would hesitate to put that out here at a time. I know we spoke about this in study session and even in retreat about not having so much on there. You confuse the people, and then people are like, well, talking about food tax. So we have to be careful about what we're asking, because we might not get the results we want.
Okay, I think there was a misunderstanding. Nobody suggested the food tax. They were just comparing the fact that we didn't have it, how much more it saves the residents not having to pay a food tax or pay for trash. That offsets asking them for a percentage of a 1% or a 0.5%.
Okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, you spoke out, that's fine. But I think there was some talk about putting a food tax on there, and I just want to make sure we we get that straight, because if it's just a comparison, how much we're saving compared to other cities, that's great. We make sure we distinguish that when we are talking to people, so they are not confused on what we're trying to, what the city's trying to accomplish and deliver.
Okay. Mr. McAdowney.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think Ms. Carson and I were both talking about the food tax as a differentiator, right? We know that there's a value associated to charging or not charging that. And in our case, it's about $2 million annually that our citizens aren't paying. The point is, most of our citizens don't know that because most cities collect that. So it's just like trash, right? There's an assumption in most citizens that I talk to that they pay for it.
Trash.
And, well, you do, but you don't. Same for the food tax. So we're not saying to go out and include that in a ballot measure. We're saying we need to make sure that when we're talking about taxes, we're talking about things with all the information on the table so that people understand what they would be paying or not paying in a full context. The only other point I want to add real quickly, in terms of the comparisons, there's a glaring piece that's missing here, right? This is the straightforward sales and use tax number. I think about Brighton and I think about Prairie Center, and a huge revenue generator for Brighton. Well, it's not a revenue generator because it goes back into funding the project, but how many of these places that are nodes of retail activity don't show up on the radar as a sales and use tax comparison because they are special improvement funds or PIFs, right? So when we look at that number, it's not an accurate comparison, because where you're spending your money in Denver or Brighton or where have you, odds on has a PIF or a TIF or some other accelerator on that. And so when you go and buy something at Target in Brighton or Home Depot in Brighton, yes, you get that 8 and change % from Brighton, but you also get those other 2 points. So your effective tax rate is 10 and change, right, which I think if we were to actually look at where retail, particularly retail, right? And again, this is where we're talking about retail sales tax, we're talking about sales and use tax comes into play. If we're talking about sales tax, all of a sudden it's a different ballgame. You're not necessarily that far out of whack with, a certain number of other comparisons. And so it's, again, how much detail do you get into? How far do you go with it? I mean, there's a point of diminishing returns because we get too confusing. But so we're being honest. I mean, those are other factors in the comparison that we're not necessarily disclosing in a comparison like that.
And in the end run, you're absolutely right, because nobody thinks about all the little different things they see on the bottom of their sales. But I think too much information might be an overload to people say, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to vote on anything now. That's so, right. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. Down. Yeah, they do shut down. Ms. Carson?
I just wanted to clarify, at no point was I saying that I wanted a food tax put on the ballot. It was just so that there is a good understanding to the citizens in our city that they don't pay this. And to the other point, if it's not too much work, I don't know how many other cities are doing that. If you could just add an extra column to give that clearer understanding, I think most of us that live in the Northern Range have a very clear understanding because we've all been charged those fees. You pay that extra 2% every time you shop up there, and it's going to be that way for I don't know how many years. And I think now that we have a grocery store in the Northern Range, it probably is something that has eluded everybody that lives up there because they've all been used to shopping primarily in other cities, I think, where they've been paying that food tax. So that was my point, is educate the voters of what it really is that they pay in the city that they live in and what they are getting. And because if you just don't give them the understanding and they start looking at charts, things are not as clear. So, Mr. Douglas, yeah, I never ever was suggesting to put the food tax on the ballot. So,
Mr. Douglas.
And I just want to
for those who don't know, here we're down to the other King Soopers down here, because we're where the property is, and I believe it's a TIF, that they charge 1.1% at that store. So we need to be careful about adding the Prairie Center and all that, because we have certain areas within our city boundaries that we charge that extra tax when people are purchasing items as groceries.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion. Oh, Bob, did you?
I got my question answered.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second? Mr. Amador.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second to put the 3 action items on with the, all the different language that I think that you got, that we put out there. Is there any discussion from council? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, staff have the direction? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to reports. And Mr. City Manager.
Was there, did any other council members have administrative council business?
They don't get no more administrative council business. That's all the administrative council business we're doing tonight. Okay. If they wanted it, trust me, they would have been stopping me and said they wanted it. Mr. City Manager, oh, you have administrative council business?
Thank you. I was going to ask, when we, I know we've seen in the past when new construction comes in and they're past the permit process, they're out there doing construction, and if there's any way, when Kings came in, they had, hey, new Kings come in, if we could start identifying some of these businesses that are doing construction, and ask them if it's possible. Maybe they want to, make it a surprise or so, but for the ones who want to showcase their property, saying such and such is coming in, that'd be great. People are asking about, when the dirt starts flying, what's going on over there, and that would kind of cure their curiosity. And the other, I had another thing too. If I know when they start construction up in '96, and I know I asked about the oil wells over there and the condensation tanks, and I know Chris isn't here, but maybe looking at a closed loop system on those tanks, because that would help with the carbon that are released in the gases off those tanks. That really help out that community when it's when they're starting to build and people are wanting to move over there. If we take those kind of precautions, if that's something we can, if the oil industry could work with those requests.
We can check into both of those items.
Okay. And let's see, since there's someone here from Rec Center, Carolyn, I had a question about the facility as far as the game room. I know that I called over there to use the facility, and they said it's only available for the teenagers at certain times. Is there times for drop-ins as far as the using the facility, the game room facility? And if so, if that could be, stated or changed. And this one here, maybe I could, maybe this is not a council action, maybe it's something for Brian, but I'll have to ask to find out. As far as part-time employees, I know full-time employees have benefits. Is there, are there benefits that are offered to part-time employees?
Given the Health Care Act, we're actually doing that research now to find out what impact that will have on part-time employees. So we'd be happy to report back. We're kind of right in the middle of it right now and don't have any conclusions yet. But it's causing us to ask those very questions.
Okay. And then this last one here. Now, this is just from what I've been, has brought to my attention. As far as employees at the rec center, the part-time employees, they're only allowed a membership, but they're not allowed to have a family membership. Since it's just services that we are providing, is there any way that we could offer part-time rec employees memberships for their families?
We can check into that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I should have stopped the administrative council business when I did. Okay. Reports, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We do have just a few updates for tonight. One is an update on our ongoing efforts to activate the wayside horns for the quiet crossing at 96th Avenue and the Burlington Northern crossing. Also, we have been doing some research, and we provided a brief update on the Adopt a Street program that Mr. McEldowney had brought up previously. And we also have some details in the packet tonight regarding the Memorial Day Parade, which comes up on Monday. And it is a little bit different this year, so please take a look at the memorandum from the Parade Committee that gives some additional information about the parade Monday, and contact us if you have questions. And as we have been doing, we included kind of a snapshot of the next several city council meetings for you to review. So please contact me about any of the information if you have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney?
I have one item. If council will recall, you asked me to pursue checking with CIRSA about some training for the council as well as the boards and commissions of the city.
Yes.
And we've checked into a possible date, and a possible date is Saturday, June the 15th at 9:30 a.m.
That will not work.
Okay, if it won't work.
Well, no, it doesn't matter because the Housing Authority did their CIRSA training last.
They did theirs.
Right, so I'm done.
Oh, you had yours?
Yeah, me and
Okay.
Ms. Amador were at the Housing Authority, and we've had our CIRSA training just last week.
Did you find it?
It was very
Constructive?
productive, and honestly, I think that everybody on the Housing Authority got a great deal of information out of that and will proceed differently in the future. You know,
Okay.
it's a team effort, not just an I.
Well, this was intended then for the City Council, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, and the Derby Review Board.
And the
Derby
Liquor
Review
Authority.
Board, because they have decisions that they make are in the nature of quasi-judicial decisions also. Now,
Wasn't the Liquor Board on there also?
and the Liquor Board.
Okay.
That's right, and the Liquor Board. The training would be focused on the risk of board members, council members, in the event of stepping outside the scope of their employment. That's the focus.
Right.
And where, if that occurs, what are the implications then for insurance coverage? And CIRSA will talk about that, and there is considerable risk if that occurs as far as coverage. So if you know at this point that that date is totally not workable, then I need to get back to CIRSA and tell
No,
them.
it wasn't
Not you.
workable for me, but
But-
it doesn't count anyway. But I think that you should just send it out to all those people on those boards and commission and let them know that June 15th is the day that the training's going to take place, and
Okay.
it's semi-mandatory. Now, I don't know how they're going to take semi-mandatory, but I think they'll understand that this is training they should have.
Okay, I'll proceed that way. That's the only item I had.
Okay, I'm going to break with protocol now, and I'm going to call up Representative Dominic Marino to the platform, because I would like for Dominic to give us just a slight report on what went on down at the council and how it was his first year away from city council. Even though he deserted us, we're going to still bring him up, but this is our representative in House District 32, Dominic Marino.
Thank you, Mr. Am I on? Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and Members of council, it's a pleasure to be back with you. And it was the reason why you didn't see me during the meetings during session was because it was that busy for sure. But it went really well, and I think we got some very good things done. Particularly, always looking with an eye towards Commerce City as well, and making sure that we have those economic development programs in place. So one of the big bills that we passed this session is actually the first bill introduced in the House, was to create a grant fund that will help accelerate certain advanced industries. And those are industries that Commerce City has and other cities around the Front Range have. Companies that specialize in energy and natural resources, in telecommunications, in advanced manufacturing, which is a huge driver for us and what we're looking at around the airport. So happy to say that the state's priorities and Commerce City's priorities were certainly aligned in that matter. In that manner. We also, I think, did some really great things in terms of making sure more people have access to affordable health care by expanding Medicaid to 133% of the poverty level. As 133%, no one ever really knows what that means. What that means is for a family of four, you make $35,000 a year. At that level of income, you can't really afford decent health care. And so by expanding Medicaid, many more families will be able to get health care. The thing that I think I worked on the most was House Bill 1006, which was breakfast after the bell, making sure that all kids, particularly kids that attend low-income school districts and schools, have access to a nutritious breakfast in the morning. And so I ran a bill that will require all schools that have where 70% or more of students qualify for free or reduced lunch to institute a universal breakfast program to make sure that those kids have access to breakfast. The vast majority of that cost will be picked up by an existing federal program with about a $400,000 state match. And so $400,000 to bring in $27 million in federal funding is a pretty good return on investment, and making sure that those kids are well fed and prepared to learn, I think, is a good thing. So that's just a very broad overview. I would be happy to answer any of the council's questions about anything that happened at the Capitol this year.
Do any of the council have any questions? Okay, Mr. Amador.
Dominic, I would like to formally address you instead of on Facebook and say thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Douglas.
Yeah, thank you, Dominic. I've been to a few of your town hall meetings, and the work you have done this year has been great, and thank you for supporting Commerce City and the state of Colorado.
Thank
you. Ms. Carson.
Dominic, thank you, and thank you for your hard work on the making sure our students are fed, because I will tell you, recently we accepted essays from students throughout the city, 8th grade, of if I were mayor for a day. Quite a few of those essays, the students in there spoke of if they were mayor for a day, they would make sure that all kids had food, because many of the students they go to school with or themselves, I guess, are not getting adequate food. So it is a problem in this city, so thank you very much for addressing that, because it really will benefit the students in our city, and I think we'll see a huge difference. Children cannot learn anything if they're hungry, so thank you.
Mr. Douglas again?
Oh, just report afterward.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I may cover one more thing. One of the things, there was a bill at the legislature this year that will allow for a little more revenue for RTD. And some of the North Metro legislators, myself, Steve Lepstock, who represents Thornton, Sherilyn Peniston, who represents Westminster, ran an amendment to that bill to say that with these additional revenues, you should first put those revenues towards unfinished fast-track lines. So making sure that our North Metro line does get additional funding was a priority for us this year, and it was a small effort because the bill won't bring much revenue to RTD, but still, it was important for us to make that message to RTD that any new revenue that they do get should first go to finishing unfinished fast track lines.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. McAdowney.
I'll just keep it simple. Thank you. I'm still mad that you don't sit up here with us, although we do enjoy having Mr. Amador. He's been a great addition. You are missed, but you have done us proud, and we appreciate your service and look forward to your continued service and exceptional representation on the Hill for us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
But when is your next town hall meeting and where and what time?
The next town hall meeting will actually be this Saturday at 10 a.m. in the council chambers. And I'll be giving much like I did tonight, an overview of the legislative session.
Are you bringing anyone with you?
Yes, Representative Janice May, who represents the other half of Commerce City, will be here as well as Senator Jesse Ulibarri.
Okay, thank you. Is that everybody from council? Okay, and that was my part of the report. Any of the other council people want to make a, Ms. Carson?
I know you keep looking at me, wondering how much I'm going to talk tonight. I just wanted to congratulate you, Mr. Bullock, on a successful meeting. I don't know if anybody knows that he was a past mayor pro tem who I guess never ever got to sit in that seat because the mayor never left. Since I've sat here, I have experienced the mayor pro tem taking over and running the meeting. And you did a very good job because I won't mention any names, but the last time that it was the first time a mayor pro tem took that seat, the panic button was pushed. So you did a great job with the buttons tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else have a report? Oh, your light's not on, but...
It's not?
Okay, now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. After that administrative report, I don't know, but Mr. Douglas.
All right. No, yeah, you did a very good job, Renee, and thanks a lot for stepping in for Sean. I just wanted to thank all the graduating seniors within the two school districts. This year, there's some exceptional teachers out there within both school district, and there's some students with very bright futures ahead of them. So I just want to commend all the graduating seniors this year. Thanks.
Okay, if there's no further reports and no further business before this council, don't get excited because we have two Northern Infrastructure General Meetings to go, but between our adjournment here and the first one there, we're going to have a 2-minute break. Okay, this meeting's adjourned. 2 minutes. That's what I was asked to give you, 2 minutes. You know, I don't like them 5 and 10 minutes. I like 2 and 7. Okay, I'd like to call to order the GID Board of Directors. Would you please call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilman Amador,
We're a Board of Directors now. We aren't, okay.
Board Member Amador,
Present.
Board Member Benson, Board Member Carson,
Present.
Board Member Teeter,
Here.
Board Member Bullock,
Here?
Board Member McEldowney, Board Member Elliott,
Present?
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of April 1st, 2013. Can I get a motion? Mr. McAdowney?
Would move to approve the minutes of the, or the minutes of the board for,
April 1st.
thank you, April 1st. I'm staring right at it and I can't see the date.
Okay, Mr. Teeter?
Second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, our first order of business is Resolution GID 2013-03. The substitute GID resolution was put on in your spot while we had the 2-minute break. Can I get a motion? Or do you have any questions regarding this? Does anybody on the board have any questions regarding this motion or this resolution?
Is this
Board Member
the whole
Board Member Carson?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I had my light on.
Oh, Board Member McAdowney?
I would move approval of GID Resolution 2013-03, board as seated.
Board Member Carson? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Would the attorney please read the resolution?
Yes, and just for clarification, this is the Second Amendment, so I'll read Second Amendment. The screen shows First Amendment, but other than
okay.
that, there's no change. Resolution approving Second Amendment to agreement between Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District and South Adams County Water and Sanitation District and its enterprise for the purpose of construction, installation, and maintenance of water lines, wastewater lines, accessories, and appurtenances thereto.
Okay, the resolution has been read. I have the motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, the resolution passes. Is there any further business to come before the GID Board of the Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District? If not, this meeting is adjourned. Okay, I would like to call to order the meeting of the E470 Commercial Area General Improvement District with the Board of Directors. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Board Member Amador,
Here.
Board Member Benson, Board Member Carson,
Present.
Board Member Teeter,
Here.
Board Member Bullock,
Here?
Board Member McEldowney,
Here.
Board Member Elliott,
Present?
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay, there's two excused, Board Member Benson and Board Member Ford, Board President Ford. Okay. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of April 1st, 2013. Mr. Teeter.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for April 1st, 2013.
Mr. McAdowney. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, I have a resolution for CGID 2013-05. Are there any board members that have any questions regarding this resolution? Can I get a motion for approval of this resolution? Mr. Amador.
I make a motion to approve, where am I at?
2013-05.
Uh-oh, I'm lost here. Help.
Okay, it's CGID 2013-05. Is that what you're making a motion to approve?
Is it 1305 or 1301? Oh, 1305. There we go. CGID. Oh, I got 1301 still on this.
That's the minutes.
It's the minutes.
That's minutes.
Oh. Ms. Carson, will you make the motion, please?
I certainly will. Motion to approve Resolution CGID 2013-05.
Can I get a second? Mr. Teeter.
Second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Would the city attorney please read the title?
Title reads, Resolution Amending Loan Agreement between the Commerce City E470 Commercial Area General Improvement District and DIATC Metropolitan District.
The title's been read. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The resolution passes. Second, we have another resolution, CGID 2013-06. Can I get a motion? Mr. Douglas.
Yes, I'm going to motion to approve the resolution CGID 2013-06.
Second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the motion CGID 2013-06. Would the city attorney please read the title?
Title reads, Resolution Approving Intergovernmental Agreement among Commerce City E470 Commercial Area General Improvement District, South Adams County Water and Sanitation District and its enterprise, and DIATC Metropolitan District for the purpose of construction, installation, and maintenance of water lines, wastewater lines, and accessories and appurtenances thereto.
The title's been read. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Is there any further business for the CGID? If not, this board is adjourned. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Commerce City. Okay.
E470 Commercial Area General Improvement District and DIATC Metropolitan District.
The title's been read. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor